Good evening, everybody. Lee Judges TV here. Just before we go into today's show, I didn't this week, but they were obviously like for BetVictor. And Adam, who's a Man United fan, was talking about Mikel Arteta. So I think it's very appropriate that we start with this about Mikel, and then we'll talk about what we think of Mikel Arteta after Monday's night's shocking, which I've still not got over, result.
Adam, what do you make of it?
Far away, Dave.
I think on one hand it kind of suggests that Arteta's too good for Arsenal, which I think we kind of need to calm down a little bit. I think he's done a very good job this season, but I think he's been blessed by a number of things. Just purely playing domestically has helped massive. I think if you chuck Europa League in there, I think the squad has all these different other issues which, then affect your domestic campaign, and maybe you're not sitting where you're sitting. Look, take nothing away from him this season, but the other 2 seasons before that, I know he won an FA Cup, but you're looking at 8th place finishes and stuff, and so I still think he has a little bit more to prove, and I think Arsenal's a great place for actually a young coach to come in and prove themselves, because they're a club at the moment where their expectations have dropped to a level where, yes, if they do well in the cups, people will, he'll get praise for that, but they're not expected to win the league. They're not expected to win the Champions League. So he's kind of got a job with not as much pressure as you'd expect at a big club. And he's now getting the chance to build his own team. So I think it'd be ridiculous for him to leave Arsenal at this moment in time. And like George alluded to, is he good enough for any of those big jobs at the minute? I don't think he's proven that. He could be, but he's not proven it yet.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Lee Judges TV. Another episode bringing to you a preview for the Brighton game. These games are coming thick and fast. We've not got over Monday night. I'm sure some of you haven't either, but we do need to look forward to Brighton at home, which a lot of people are saying is going to be a completely different game to Monday night's one. Let's hope so, and we do get that victory. I am your host, as ever, Dan Potts. I am joined by Lee Judges, and we have 2 Brighton fans in the house. First of all, I'd like to welcome Chloe. Chloe, how are you, darling?
I'm good, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Much appreciated. Also, we have Maz back. Maz was with us before. He's back again from Seagull Social. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks. How are you guys?
We're good, I suppose. Good is, yeah, we've been better, I suppose. We've been better.
I mean, to be honest.
Yeah, that's it. Let's start off by talking a little bit about Mikel. You heard what the guys at BetVictor had to play there, and I think let's start with you, Lee, because obviously every time we lose a game of football, Mikel Arteta's job is always questioned. Is it the manager? Is he good enough? And you see there, not Arsenal fans even questioning the long-term future of Mikel Arteta. So do you think that game on Monday, now you've had a few days to kind of get over it, so to speak, do you think that it's time to just forget it, move on, and Mikel Arteta won't mention it again? Or do you think that there's going to be the pressure on now this weekend?
Well, there's going to be pressure on now, particularly with the injuries to Tierney, and it looks like Partey's going to be out longer than 3 weeks. So, there is going to be pressure on it. But I'm with probably like a few of the others people now. Move on, dust ourselves down. We go again. Simple as that. We're at home on Saturday, 3:00 kickoff. We just got to look forward to that. Like what is very interesting about what neutrals think about Mikel, and not just what they think about Mikel Arteta, what they actually think about Arsenal. I thought Adam, who's a nice guy, by the way, obviously a little bit bitter because Man United have been not doing so well this moment in time, but the disrespect for Arsenal, you know what I mean? Like, oh, not this big club for attitude. That is because we've allowed that to happen, like, do you know what I mean? Because we haven't had this big club mentality for a long while. We've not been ruthless enough. Now Manchester United, if you think that you've got a big club mentality, well, I think that they've been letting themselves down, if I'll be honest. But I do think there is a little bit about that, about the ambition of Arsenal was just dimmered a little bit, like, and I think that's where the problem is in the Arsenal fan base at the moment. There are Arsenal fans that are not happy with 8 finishes, and then when people turn around and go, oh, it will be a progress if we come 7th, you know what I mean, or 6th. fans are not happy with that. They want more than that, like, you know. And I'm in that camp. I expect more from Arsenal, not just because of who Arsenal are. It's, you know, the prices we pay and everything, like, you know. I expect, you know, value for my money, etc., etc. What's that Monday night has done to me, Dan? I spoke about this earlier on. Is that I've lost confidence with Arsenal at this moment in time. Like, I was confident that we could go to Crystal Palace and get a result, but the way we lost that game and the way it went around for us and everything like that, I'm nervous about going into games now, like against Brighton and Southampton coming up. Like, you know, that result, the performance, everything about it, injuries, etc., the way we went about it, the manager, the players, everything like that. As a fan, my confidence has been knocked.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't think there is. What I will say, though, is Crystal Palace have had some very, very good results against some of the big sides. Man City found it hard. Tottenham, they absolutely battered. And, of course, they've battered us. So it isn't like a shock that all of a sudden Crystal Palace have turned up against Arsenal. Arsenal have these games in them. And, unfortunately, I was quietly confident that this is probably going to happen again. I'm just a bit frustrated the way that it happened. Nobody likes to lose in the way that we did. Chloe, I want to come to you. What's your thoughts on Mikel Arteta and Arsenal and the job that he's done there? And do you think that his long-term future is at the club?
I mean, I feel like Arsenal really needed an overhaul. And you seem to have done that. You've got a lot of good young players coming through. I think he's doing an all right job. I mean, I know Arsenal probably expect to be doing at least as well as they're doing. But I think they've done all right. I was very disappointed that you lost to Palace in that fashion, because obviously they're our rivals, and seeing them win like that, it's just. And now I'm worried you guys are going to be out for a sort of to prove yourselves against us, which makes me even more nervous. You say you've got no confidence in your team. I don't even have confidence that we're going to score a goal. So I certainly know what you mean.
Yeah, it has been a tough time for you, I must admit. We're going to bring Brighton into it in a minute. Maz, let's get your thoughts. Last time we spoke, you said that Arteta was doing an okay job and you could see where the club was going. Have you changed your mind, or are you still feeling that Arsenal were probably in a position that you perhaps think that we should be happy with? Or are you quite against the fact that Arsenal being in and around Champions League is perhaps where we should be?
No, it's an interesting one. I think Arteta. It's funny how like things can change in one game. I think I saw something like
Yeah.
I saw a tweet where it was something about Arsenal like losing. That's it. I think it was I think it's Sky Sports. That's it. Sky Sports done a tweet saying, have Arsenal where's it all gone wrong for Arsenal after your first defeat? I think it was in 7. I think it was. So I just find like this whole narrative behind like giving Arteta stick after one, it was a bad loss. 3-0 against Palace is obviously not a great result in anyone's book. But yeah, I think you're definitely going the right direction. And, one bad result, I don't see why it's sort of like panic stations all of a sudden again. Considering, like Chloe said, you're blooding some amazing young players, Odegaard, Saka, just to name a few. And I think it's a bit harsh to sort of, sort of jump on Arteta again just because of one bad result. Yeah. That's just how I see it from an outset, from a neutral perspective. But I think he's definitely, like, when I spoke to you guys, whenever it was, I remember I was very skeptical at Arteta. I thought, is he up to the job? Is he? It's sort of like similar to Lampard. Is he sort of just getting jobs on merit on his playing days, etc., etc.? But I think he's proved himself, especially in the last 2-3 months, where I think he does have a seat at the table. And obviously, yeah, disappointing result, but I feel like he's definitely going the right direction where you guys want to be, challenging top 4, getting that Champions League consistently, and maybe one day challenging for the title.
Yeah, Lee, one of the best things about talking on shows like this is you get to speak to neutral fans. And there's no way that Maz or Chloe have any hatred or favoritism towards Mikel Arteta. They're just giving their pure opinions. And I think when you listen to stuff like that, does it give you confidence that perhaps things aren't quite as bad as we think they are at times?
No, I've always said that. I don't think you can go on one result, and look on that and say, oh, it's all a disaster. I think it wasn't a great result, but you look at, we weren't saying this when we was coming home from Aston Villa on the train. Everybody was buzzing, weren't they? Like, so you just have to take it as it is. Not get carried away when you win games and not get carried away when you lose games. One of the biggest questions that I think now that somebody said to me, a lot of Arsenal fans are saying Mikel is great and he's doing this and doing a great job. and you know this go along the lines that he is. Well, I was asked a question today: who's done better this year, Vieira or Mikel Arteta? And you'd have to say Vieira. You'd have to say
100%.
Vieira.
Yeah.
You'd have to say Vieira from building a team with 7 players at the beginning of the season, getting them to a semi-final, getting them playing like that, and producing performances like that over the season. You'd have to say Vieira. And then the next question that somebody said to me: who's the more of a legend at Arsenal, Vieira or Arteta? Well, there's no.
Yeah.
That ain't even up
No
for debate.
contest. Yeah.
There's no contest. You know what I mean? Like, it's like me playing Rafael Nadal at tennis with no racket. I'm not going to win, am I? Like, you know what I mean? So for me, you know, so when people keep lauding Mikel Arteta, I don't really see why. Yes, he's doing a great job, but I'm not having this lauding it stuff and everything like that. And, you know, people saying, oh, you should be singing his name all the time. Like, if he gets us to top 4, I'll be singing his name from the rooftops. You know why? Because he deserves it, Dan. At this moment in time, I don't think he deserves all the praise and the loving that he's getting. You know what I mean? Like, he's doing a good job, but he's not doing an amazing job, because I've just, as it's just been pointed out, that I think we'd all agree here that Vieira's doing a better job.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Maz, what's your thoughts on that? Arteta and Vieira, they're 2 very different jobs. One's a huge job in terms of Arsenal, massive club, and it's probably a lot more pressure. Patrick Vieira's come in, however, and had no team, had to recruit, didn't have the transfer kitty that a club like Arsenal, United or Chelsea have got. And of course, has probably put in a style of football and a philosophy already within a couple of months. And I think he's playing really, really good football at the moment.
Yeah, no. At first, when he came in, I was very, as a Brighton fan, naturally, I wanted him to sort of, you know, set up for a failure. But unfortunately, he's proven everyone wrong. I think, especially with his background as well. Like, he didn't do well did okay in the MLS, I believe. Again, didn't do great in France with was it Lille or Nice? Sorry, with Nice. Yeah, and like, you know, he didn't like set the world alight, so to speak. So I didn't think he was going to do an amazing job, to be honest with you, when he went into Palace. And then, yeah, again, I think it's a bit. I think I don't want to get ahead of us. I was thinking, like, oh, he's the best manager, like, you know, since sliced bread, all that. Like how Lee was saying about Arteta, I think he's doing a great job, but I wouldn't go any further than that. And then also, yeah, fair play to him. He's got some amazing players at his disposal. I think Gallagher's been a shining light for him. Like, he's single-handedly won him games at times. Even, you know, against us at Selhurst Park, you know, Gallagher was the best player by a country mile. So I think the players have got a big part to play in it as well. You know, getting those results for Vieira. And yeah, fair play to him. He's got some really good results. But yeah, I think it's still a bit too early to judge whether he's the real deal. That would be my only sort of question mark.
Fair play. Chloe, let's bring you in on the goings on of this weekend, because we've talked a little bit about the way that we've been playing, particularly against Palace on Monday night, which we don't want to go too much into more. But I think this weekend's going to be a different game. You're not really at the races at the moment, but there is time for that to change. Do you have confidence going into this game against Arsenal now that we have lost to Crystal Palace? And do you think that there's potential weaknesses that you can exploit with this Arsenal team?
No, I don't really have much confidence. I can't lie. You know, we haven't won in, is it 8 or 7 games now?
7, yeah.
7, and we've lost 6 of those. Like, I think we've scored 1 goal in that time. So yeah, I'm high on confidence. I actually think it's sort of had the opposite effect, because I am thinking that you're going to want a reaction now from your players against us, and that just makes me worried that you're going to come out fighting against us and just tear us apart. So yeah, it's definitely not filled me with confidence at all. And don't worry, we won't be scoring 3 goals. I'd be surprised if we scored 1.
I would say, Dan, though, you talk about weakness. My only sort of shining light, so to speak, from the Arsenal team is Nuno Tavares. I think if we can exploit him at left back, because I know Tierney's injured, I feel like that's our way in. If there's any way in, I feel like Nuno Tavares is that point of trying to get in behind, especially with Lamptey on the right as well with his pace. Tavares looked really shaky, did not look great against Palace at all. And with Tierney out as well, I know he was like one of your better players as well, especially at the back. You look decent, so. Yeah, I'd say if there's any way we can exploit you guys, but I share the same sentiment as Chloe. I'm not going into it confident of scoring any sort of amount of goals, but if there is a chance, it'll be down that left, our right, your left, if it was to happen.
Fair play. Lee, this super chat, Chaitanya, thank you so much, mate. Regular listener, regular super chat, top bloke and legend. Lee, he has said, I'm concerned that Arteta may compromise the shape. Nuno has to play at left back and step up. With Partey being out, Mo Elneny or Sambi have to step up also, and we must bin the next two. Kenny Ken was correct. It will come down to the North London derby. Talk to me about this team, Lee, because at the moment we've got some injury problems. Are you worried that the Nuno Tavares that turned up on Monday and against Nottingham Forest may turn up again at the weekend? Or do you have the confidence that we'll see a different player at home?
I think, listen, he's had 3 real shockers of the games. Anfield, Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace. Common denominator, they've all been away from home. You know, I think when he's played at home, it's been a little bit different. For me, I think you've got to give him the go. You know, I know what, like Brighton are going to come and probably attack him and try and work on his confidence. But listen, he's played really, really well at Leicester earlier on in the season. He's had some good games for us. So for me, give him the go. You know, I don't think we should be changing the shape and everything around at this moment in time. I'd go with him on that side. I'd bring in Lokonga because you know what? They're the replacements. They're the backups. What's the point of having them if you're not going to have backups? And what's the point of signing somebody and then putting Xhaka out to left back or, swapping Cedric over or, in the midfield, putting Lacazette back in there because he can't do anything up front. Did I say that? I shouldn't have, or putting somebody else in there. Like Lokonga comes in, Tavares comes in, and listen, if we're in a little bit of disarray because of one defeat, then Brighton must be because they can't buy a win at this moment in time. I'm hoping that we give them a good little hiding on Saturday, and then the following Saturday they dust themselves down and do what we're going to do to them and spank them down the road. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm hoping, But listen, I think it can work 2 ways in this game. Brighton can look at it and think, there could be a reaction from Arsenal, or it could be like a confidence. Lack of confidence because of that result. So it could go either way. I think the first 20 minutes on Saturday are going to be very, very important. If Brighton come out for the tracks, I don't think Brighton are a defensive sort of side. They might be cautious, but I think that they've, listen, and by the way, they give us a right good game and probably should have beat us at Brighton that day. I thought they was brilliant. And I can't quite understand why Brighton have just dropped off like this. You know what I mean? Graham Potter, I think, is a great manager. I just don't see what it is. I think with Brighton, and I think this is where you've got to be careful with Brighton. I think they play some really good football, but when they miss too many chances. So when they're on top, they miss chances, and then seems like punish them. If they could take their chances, and it wouldn't surprise me against us if they shoot from 20 yards and they go in. But hopefully, we get the job done and they can do us a favour the following week. But I think that for me, Mikel's got to be brave in this scenario. Listen, you could actually take Xhaka out of there if Partey wasn't injured. You could actually go, do you know what? I'll put Saka in there for a couple of games or whatever. But I don't think it's just going to be a couple of games, Dan. You've got to find someone for the next 9 games. It's all right saying, I'll put Xhaka in there for 1 or 2 games. 9 games is like 2 months, of football, April and May. So for me, he's got to find a solution, and whoever it is, he's got to come in there and step up. Let's hope it's Nuno and he does the business. And the same for the midfield, because I don't think when you get a hamstring injury, it's 3 weeks. If it's a recurring one, it's 6 weeks. And by what I'm being told, it's a recurring one. He's had this before. So, it don't look very good. So I think that we're probably going to be without these two players for, well,
Most of the season.
Yeah, virtually the season, I think, you know. And I don't want Partey coming back, rush back for Tottenham, and we know what happened there last year. So I don't want
that is not something that can happen. Before I bring Maz and Chloe in, I just want to bring this comment up. It's from Gunners14. He says, when is the next top 4 show? And I love this, Lee. Listen to this. With the West Ham fan, the Wolves fan, the Man United fan, and Toby. That is quality. For those that don't know, Toby is a Spurs fan. In a couple of weeks' time, we will get that back going because it needs to happen. We are going to try and do that every few weeks to see if we can follow the Premier League and see what that table is saying. So stay tuned for that one. Let's bring you in, Maz, because Lee has said that he doesn't know what's happened to Brighton. And neither do I, if I'm honest with you. Graham Potter's a guy that I really like, a manager I really rate. You've got some fantastic players. I'd take Tariq Lamptey and Basuma off of you tomorrow. And you have got some other players that I think he's managed to get the best out of. In the last few games, I've watched Brighton only on Match of the Day. They don't look right, mate. So what the hell's going on?
Your guess is as good as mine, mate. To be honest with you, I don't know. It's I think it's a combination of stuff that's just going wrong. I feel like I said it on our podcast as well. Potter's just being let down by the players, in my opinion. I don't think it's down to Potter himself. Obviously, you can question some of his decisions, you know, some of his substitutions, his lineups. You know, with any manager, you can do that. But I don't think it's down to that. I think it's genuinely, you know, the players letting him down, especially front of goal. Like Lee was saying, you know, missing chances. We had 31 shots. Only 4 on target against Norwich, and we missed the penalty. So, you know, Norwich are playing volleyball in the penalty box, and we still can't score. So it's our own doing. It's our players' fault, and the reason behind that, it's a tough one. You know, could you put it down to maybe the only thing I can maybe think of is like, oh, we're safe. You know, the players think, oh, we're safe. We're not going to go down. We're not going to get relegated. So let's just, you know, sort of get our way through the end of the season and see what happens. I think that's the only thing I can really maybe put it down to. Is it like a lack of motivation? Because the quality's there. We all know it. You know, as neutrals, as Brighton fans, as Arsenal fans, we all know we've got the quality. It's just in front of goal, we're a shambles at the moment. And yeah, it seems like a lack of motivation, I think, to really grind out results. Because, you know, to draw 0-0 at Norwich at home it's just not good enough. Simple as that. And yeah, it's just down to being clinical, not being clinical enough.
Yeah, I was shocked by the Norwich one in particular because I know Norwich are fighting for their lives down there. It looks like they're dead and buried, but I really fancied you to get past them. You were so hard to beat at the start of the season, us included. We went to your place and found it very difficult in the wet rain. I remember I got absolutely soaked. But it was a situation where I thought Brighton are overachieving here. You know, some of the players you've got, no disrespect, I thought Graham Potter was getting amazing results with. And the style of play was there, the tenacity was there, the work rate was there. And I was watching you really, really enjoying your football. And now it seems the last few games, it's just been a complete struggle for you. Chloe, I know you said you don't feel confident going into this game. And obviously you've been watching Brighton struggling to see where you're going to score goals. What do you put your bad form down to at the moment? Is it the manager, is it the players, or is it a culmination of a few things?
I think dropping the back 5 didn't help. I think we played a back 5 against Norwich, and I think that's why we suddenly started creating chances again. Like some of those losses, we just didn't really create much, which was worrying because it's not even like we weren't creating, and we were creating, but we weren't finishing. We just weren't creating much. But I think since he switched to that against Norwich, we all were creating quite a few chances. One thing I will say is a lot of those shots were from quite far outside the area. A lot of sort of, you know, shoot and see sort of things. So I'm not sure how sort of clear cut they were for chances really anyway. I don't know what our bad form's down to. I think it's probably a combination thing. I think we can be a bit complacent. I remember the season we got promoted, we knew that we were promoted and we didn't fight for the title, and it feels a bit like that now. We've still got that sort of complacency in our team, and I'm not sure what the reason is, but yeah, a lot of the time it doesn't feel, those games we just didn't seem to be fighting for it. There was a few players that looked up for it, but most of them just didn't look up for it. It's just as simple as that, and I don't really know what that's down to. But yeah, it was quite worrying. I think if we can, although obviously 0-0 against Norwich at home, not ideal. I think not losing that game was quite important, and hopefully we can build on that and, score a goal or two. Maybe getting a result against you guys. We'll see.
Also, as well, I think just to elaborate on that as well, I think like key areas. So, like Basuma, for example, since the Spurs FA Cup game, his form's apps. He just doesn't care. He's not playing for the shirt. He knows he's eyeing a move in the summer. He's probably going to move. Well, he definitely will move in the summer. And then in defence as well, like we lost Dunk through to injury and then suspension. Webster through injury, and like we just haven't been very consistent in terms of the lineup as well. A lot of shift and change, a lot of personnel coming in and out. Kukurea at centre back, then going left wing back. Like it's just not been consistent. It's not been ideal preparation, I think, going into a lot of games. So yeah, it's so frustrating to watch because we know what we're capable of and we know what we can do. It's just, do we have the strongest 11 out most of the time at the moment? No. And are we clinical in front of goal? No. So that's basically what it all boils down to.
Judges, is this a good time to play Brighton? Because we've come off the back of a defeat and they can't score and they can't seem to get a win. It's probably a good time to play them, is it not?
Yeah, of course. I mean, like, listen, I think the next two games will be very, very interesting. I'm going to be really honest. Let's be really honest. If it was Spurs playing Brighton, I'm putting down Spurs own win, like, you know what I mean? Because like that's the way. So I'm going to have if we're going to be competing with them, you've got to be confident enough to say that we're at home, we should beat Brighton, like, I think with Brighton, it'd be very interesting to get the guys' view on this, like, I mean, where you see yourselves being, because you obviously sold Ben White in the summer. Burns has gone in the January, like, they lost Dunk to still be competitive in the Premier League. After losing like two very, very good central defenders, going to lose, as we say, Basuma, it must be difficult. It must be a bit heartbreaking to see all these good players come and then like go. So, I think Brighton are doing a fantastic job. I think if they were probably like in their last 5 games, maybe 1-2 of them, I think everybody would be saying it's a good season for Brighton. Am I not, or am I wrong saying that?
Yeah, well, it depends on. I always like to finish the season strongly, so I think the fact that we're sort of limping our way through towards the end of the season, and because of such a positive start of the season, our expectations, I'm sure Chloe can attest to this. It's like at times we're talking about Europa League conference, like qualifying for Europe. So, and then once that form then falls off a cliff, you're like, well, how are we gone from talking about potentially playing in Europe to now potentially talk about relegation? Like, we're still not safe mathematically. Obviously, I don't think we'll get relegated, but it's weird how we can go from looking at the top to now looking at the bottom. And I think, it's just a way. Would I say this has been a successful season? Probably right now, no, because of the way it's gone. But I suppose if you look at it from an outset, or like from the beginning of the season, and you said, "Oh, would you take this position?" Probably would. So I don't know. It's a really tough one. I don't know if Chloe agrees, but that's just my view on it.
Are you with him, Chloe?
Yeah, that's spot on, really. I think because we did start so strongly, maybe even some of the results we got were quite lucky, really. I think that win against Leicester was quite lucky. They had like 2 offside goals and a lot of 1-1 draws where we got last minute equalisers, and I think maybe that did give us unrealistic expectations for this season, and now we're not getting that luck or any results, really. It's looking a bit more like last season, really. It's more similar and we're not really looking at top 10 anymore. We're looking over our shoulders almost.
No, fair play. Before I move back to judges and start talking about the lineups and predicted lineups, I want to get both your opinions on Ben White, because obviously he was a player that was highly rated at Brighton, was sold to us for £50 million. And there's a lot of mixed opinions in the Arsenal fan base on Ben White. A lot of people think he's top drawer and he's going to be a superstar. A lot of people think the jury's out, and a lot of people think it's been a waste of money. So where do you guys stand at the moment with this signing? Because it's such mixed reviews. It's unbelievable. Maz, we'll start with you.
Yeah, well, I think he's class, personally. I think he was brilliant for us. And I still stand by it. We got a lot of stick from all fans by saying he was our 3rd best centre-back last season, but I still stand by it. He was behind Webster and Dunk in terms of performance-wise last season. However, in terms of a ceiling and potential, he's by far better than Duncan Webster in that sense. So I think you've got a great catcher. I think only thing he needs to shore up maybe is his consistency. As you mentioned, he can be incredible one game and then be not so great the next game. And also maybe just physically a little bit, just bulk up a bit. I think maybe aerially he's not the strongest. Winning those headers and stuff he struggles with. However, on the ball, I don't think you see much better, especially English talent. Like on the ball, he's incredible, and the way he reads the game, he's brilliant at a lot of other parts of the game. So I think stick with him. I think he'll become a very, very top level defender. It just depends how he's handled, I suppose, and how Arteta treats him, how he manages him, and all the things that you'd want to look for in a coach, I suppose, a good manager. Because he's had Bielsa, he's had Potter, and now he's obviously got Arteta, which you could argue they're all just as good as each other. But I feel like for him to progress and keep moving those levels up, you need a good manager and a good coach teaching you the way, really.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Chloe, what do you make of Ben White at Arsenal? Obviously, you've seen a lot of him at Brighton. What have you made of his start at Arsenal this season?
I mean, yeah, I think from what I've seen, he's been a bit inconsistent. He's never been particularly good in the air, and I have noticed that for you guys. I do think he's better with his feet. I haven't really, I don't know what to say. I haven't watched that much of him at Arsenal, but I think he can be a bit error prone. But obviously,
Do you think he's better in a 3 than a 2?
Yeah, definitely.
100%, yeah,
undoubted.
I think he's you talk about system players. I'm not saying he is an out and out system player, but like Connor Cody at Wolves, he thrives with a 3 at the back, and he's much better in a 3. And the same with England, like Maguire. You just look at Maguire at United. He played so much better when he's at Leicester in a 3. So I think exactly the same with Ben White. I think he benefits in a system, especially 3 at the back. However, I think he is quite comfortable in multiple positions and multiple systems, but I think his best, more natural is being surrounded by 2 other centre backs where he can maybe get away with little errors or get away with a misplaced pass here and there or whatever, because then he knows 2 other centre halves will cover for him. So I think, to answer your question, definitely back 3, he's his strongest.
Lee, is there a chance we might see him in a back 3 next season if Saliba comes back?
I think something to look at if we bring Saliba back with Tierney not being what would I say?
Injury prone.
Yeah, he's injury prone, so he's not going to last the season. So you could look to go to wing backs instead of full backs. So that would be probably something that they could think about. I'm not so sure. They could actually do that and actually put Tierney in as one of the 3 as well to cover it, if you know what I'm saying. So like if we could probably let Holding go and then Tierney, because I think Tierney plays that position for Scotland. So yeah, and so I just think that I really like Tierney, but he's not reliable enough because you're not getting it. And I can say that about Partey as well. Partey can't seem to go more than 5-6 games. And they're influential players. So if your influential players can't get a consistent run of games together, you're going to have to look at that situation.
And it's worrying, Lee, because we've had 1 game a week, mate, this season as well.
Yeah,
next season we won't.
It's not like we're playing 3 games a week. It's 1 game a week. You're playing, resting, training, then playing again. It's doesn't bode well. Doesn't bode well for both of them, if I'll be honest.
No, you're absolutely spot on. Let's go to some predicted lineups. Lee, I'll start with you. What is your lineup for Arsenal on Saturday? I know we've got a couple of injury concerns, but what do you think the 11 will be, mate?
Well, the team that I would pick is I think that Mikel will bring in Lacazette, but I'm gonna bring in keep Lacazette, But I'm gonna I actually said when it was on the Forever Arsenal, I actually said that I would play Odegaard in there, but that's because I think that's what Mikel's going to do. If it's what I think in my team, if I was picking the team, would be Ramsdale in goal, Cedric, Ben White, Gabriel, and Tavares. Midfield, Sambi, Xhaka and Odegaard. front three of Saka, Martinelli, and Smith Rowe.
So you would drop Lacazette. Do you think
Yeah.
do you think Arteta will drop Lacazette though?
No.
Because I don't.
No,
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 neither do
I
I.
don't think he will. So if you don't drop Lacazette, that's why I sort of said there's no way Martinelli should be left out of this team no more. But I don't want Smith Rowe left out of it as well. So I put Smith Rowe into the midfield, and him and Odegaard could swap around a little bit. But that's what I would do. But I'm sorry, Lacazette doesn't justify his place in the team. Let alone that we're leaving out to keep him in the team at this moment in time. We're leaving out Martinelli or Smith Rowe. I can't have that no more.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And if it was me, I'd be going with a similar side to you. I think pretty much the same spot on. I'd have that front four. Martinelli would be up top, Smith Rowe, Saka, Odegaard, and that'd be the front four. For me, I think Lacazette's just proven the last few games that he needs time out now. It's not looking good for him. He can't score goals. He's not holding the ball up like he should. He's not getting the link-up play like he should. And he doesn't even look like scoring in front of goal. I mean, he could go 1-on-1 at the moment and still miss the target the way that he's playing. I think he's low of confidence, and I just don't think he looks fit enough, if I'm honest with you. And even if he does play, we've got Eddie Nketiah coming on with like 10 minutes to go. It's just ridiculous. So for me, something needs to change this weekend. And I think it's the perfect opportunity where I think low of confidence team like Brighton, we can have a potential go at them. And I think it's time to switch it up at the top. But I'm going to show you in a minute the predicted lineups. Me and Graham normally do this, but we're not about this weekend. So I thought I'd put the tactics board up in a minute to show you the teams. Before I do that, I want to come to Maz, because I spoke to you offline before. Maz, you said about the lineup and you said, mate, I have no idea what we're going to play, but I can predict it if you like. So at the moment, you've been going more of a 3-5-2. Is that correct?
Yeah, so as Chloe mentioned earlier, like he's been switching from a back four and a back five. So against Norwich, he played a back five, as in 3 centre halves and 2 wing backs. So I believe he'll carry that on for Arsenal. So he'll play three centre halves and 2 wing backs. So that's what I've based it on. Do you want to hear the lineup now? Or?
Go for it, mate.
Yeah.
Please do.
So this is just like Lee said, if I was the gaffer, this is what I'd go with. So I'll go Sanchez in goal, Lamptey at right wing back, Dunk, Veltman, and actually, sorry, tell a lie. I'll go with what Potter I think Potter will do first, and then I'll tell you what I think he should go for. So Sanchez, Lamptey, Dunk, Veltman, Cucurella, March as the back five, Basuma and Gross in the middle, and then Trossard, McAllister, and Mopé as sort of the attacking 3. I think that's who he'll go for. Maybe he'll play Welbeck again because he quite likes Welbeck as the sort of focal figure. However, personally, I would definitely play Cucurella at left wing back because he's much more effective and it's his natural position. And then, unfortunately, I'd have to put Duffy in because he's the only sort of other centre back. Or I would chance my arm with a young guy called Hayden Roberts, who's one of our young products coming through. But it's not going to happen. So the first lineup I gave you is probably what Potter's going to go with.
Fair play. Chloe, anything that you changed there in relation to Brighton?
No, I think that's probably pretty accurate for what Potter will choose. I'd like to see Sarmiento, but he has just come back from an injury, so I'm not sure if he's like fit to start. But he had a brief appearance against Norwich and looked really good. So I would definitely like to see him against Arsenal.
Yeah, he's class. If we get to game, he's a dangerous player. He's one of those direct. Obviously not as good as Martinelli, but he's like a similar style of player. Like he loves to run at people. Great with the ball, and I think he's an Ecuadorian international, just qualified for the World Cup. I think he's like 21. So big future for him. I think it'd be great.
Fair play. Let's take a look at the team lineups because obviously it's going to be an interesting one. A lot of the times this is only prediction and some of the times we get it wrong. But if we're looking at the two sides there, Lee, let's start with you. Where's the dangers in terms of Brighton's team and Brighton's 11 there? Because I've put together the teams that I think will be predicted and we can discuss Arsenal in a minute and what we think will happen in formation. But when you look at Brighton there, they've got a couple of players that can cause some problems. So where do you see their dangers? Oh, you're on mute, bro. Lee?
I tell you what, I don't know how the guys feel, but I'm always frightened when someone like Danny Welbeck comes back. I'm a big how can I say, like, I'm a big fan of his, and I'm not a big fan of his, if you know what I mean. Like, I think like he does so many good things and then so many bad things. I like Danny Welbeck when he was an honest sort of a player at Arsenal, and I think he's been honest at Brighton. I think injuries have restricted him going on to be that little bit higher up, like, you know. So forward areas, I think they can get at us, like, you know. I think that Basuma, it's interesting that, you know, we're saying Basuma perhaps not interested. I'm a big fan of his. I really like him as a player. You know, if Brighton are selling him, you know what I mean? Like, you know, he's more than welcome to come to the Emirates, you know. But
40 million, Lee, and he's yours, mate. You can have him.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'd take 40 million. I would.
I'll be right with that.
I'd give you 40 million for him. I really would, like, you know. And maybe, you know, he's probably just outgrown his time there at Brighton. I don't know, but like, you'd know that more than me. But
yeah, I'll be honest. I don't even know if he'll start. To be honest, like, he's not started for the last, I think, 3 or 4 games.
Like,
so yeah, that's just me just chant. Like, if I was the gaffer, I'd put him in just because I know he likes to play against Arsenal. He's always done quite well.
Yeah, exactly. I think, you know, that's a good point. That, you know, if he thinks that he could be on show or something against Arsenal, you know. Listen, Brighton. I've always said that. Whoever I've seen at Brighton play, I think they've played some really good football. And it goes to that last final pass or that cross coming in and they don't score. They miss chances. Who was I watching? I think was it against Man United last year? I think Man United got a penalty right at the end.
Oh,
Brighton played them off the park
after full time. Yeah,
absolutely played them off the park. So we've got to boss the midfield, and I would be very, very confident if it was Partey and Xhaka in there, but it's not. So I listen. We're in a position where Brighton are not in great form. We should really have too much for them, and so if we defend well. So this is the thing. Like, I look at. I'm worrying about Welbeck, worrying about Mopé, worrying about these players. A week ago, I would have said no. Our defence will shut that down. Then, after what I see on Monday, I'm a little bit cagey about it. I'm not going to lie. You know what I mean? Like, I shouldn't be saying this that Welbeck is. I'm fearing Welbeck in a game like this. I haven't feared. You know, I mean, 6 weeks ago, I wouldn't have been fearing Harry Kane. You know what I mean? Like, against our defence. But now I am. I'm fearing like anybody at this moment in time. It's a shocking performance Monday night. And you know, I don't know how we're going to react from it. I really don't. And I'm worried about Brighton. I'm worried about any game at the moment because that performance was that bad.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely spot on. Chloe, let's bring you in. This is the Arsenal lineup that I think Mikel Arteta will go with. I wouldn't go with this, but this is the one I think he's going to play. He seems to not fancy Martinelli.
Can you read that out? Because I can't see it.
Sure. Seems to not fancy Martinelli at the moment, so I've put him on the bench. So it's Ramsdale in goal, Cedric right back, Tavares left back, Gabriel left centre back, Ben White right centre back, Lokonga holding with the diamond of Xhaka, Ødegaard, Lacazette up top, Smith Rowe on the left and Saka on the right. That's what I think Mikel Arteta will go with because that's what he seems to be favouring at the moment. Martinelli on the bench, which again, me and Lee disagree with and think that he should be playing because we think that he's a great player. And Lacazette should probably be dropped. But Chloe, we've got some dangerous players on there. So who are the threats for you in that Arsenal side?
I definitely think Smith Rowe and Saka could be quite a threat to us. We're not very good when teams come at us with pace on the break. So if you hit us with a bit of pace, chances are you'll score. So you've got a lot of pacey young players who I definitely feel can hit us quite hard. Looking at that is quite scary. And then you've got Martinelli on the bench, who's another player that I really, really rate. So it's like if you've got him on the bench, you can bring him on even if it's 0-0 and he'll do something amazing and get a goal. So definitely, I think you've got a good team, to be honest. I think we've got a lot of talent there.
Fair play. Maz, what about yourself? Obviously, you know, I know that you like some of our players, particularly our youngsters, but do you think that we could cause you some threats down the wings, potentially with Saka and Smith Rowe as well, like Chloe?
If I don't know, it's a tough one. Like, I'll be honest, sort of in the last few weeks, I haven't been as impressed with a few of the players. Like one person I am impressed with, I love Odegaard. I think he's brilliant. I think he's really showing why he was, I think, rated as like one of the best wonder kids in the world, and he's so highly rated at Real Madrid, etc. Obviously, didn't work out for him there, but I feel like Odegaard is that player that can really unlock certain situations, certain defenses, etc. But I don't know. I feel like Smith Rowe obviously was on fire like a few weeks back, and I feel like he's obviously still good, but like he's died down a bit. Obviously, Lacazette, you said he's misfiring a little bit. Saka as well, like again, great player, but again maybe just in the last few weeks hasn't quite been to his best. So I don't know. Don't get me wrong, your team going forward, you've got some great players. I just don't feel as threatened as I maybe would have a few weeks ago. But obviously, it's just one bad result. I can't really base it on Palace. But yeah, no, I mean, you can hurt us. It just depends on Cucurella and Lamptey at the wing backs. If they play at wing back, I'm very confident we can shut out your wingers because they're both top tier. Like Lamptey's been, he's class, got bags of pace, and Cucurella, arguably, has been one of the best signings of the season. So yeah, he's incredible. But he's been playing centre half, which to me is just baffling. Like, why would you play one of your best fullbacks or wing backs at centre half? It just doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, it all depends on what formation like we actually play and who plays where. But yeah, we'll see. I still think you'll beat us, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
Fair play. Lee, let me ask you this on the Arsenal team quickly before we move on. If Lacazette plays, who starts, Martinelli or Smith Rowe?
That's my problem. There's my problem right there. And that both of them should start. I'm getting them both in, like, you know what I mean? If it goes to that, then one of them drops into midfield then. I don't think they will do. I keep saying it. There's a reluctance to play Martinelli. So I think that Mikel will play Smith Rowe. And this is what I don't agree with. Like, Martinelli should be the first name on the team sheet for me. But he's not. And then people turn around and say, he's not quite consistent. Well, how can he be consistent? He never has a consistent run. I'd stick him down the middle, and we need something different, Dan. I mean, like, people keep saying, "Oh, we're playing great football and everything like that." Yeah, we've not been. We weren't great against Liverpool. We never looked like scoring against Liverpool, and we never looked like scoring the other night. That's 2 out of 3 games. And to be honest, against Villa, we done well. We played really well, but it was more of a defensive performance we was all raving about. It weren't really the attacking side we was going on about, was it? We was going, how well we defended, how well we was organised and all that. Like, so 3 games, 1 goal. We need to up it. At the end of the day, Dan, we cannot afford to go a goal down and not because if we haven't got 2 goals in us with Lacazette up front. We haven't. So we've got to change it. So for me, he'll probably leave out Martinelli. And I will be annoyed.
Yeah, so will I. I really will be, because like the guys have just said, they don't like pace, and Martinelli brings pace, raw pace, and technical ability. So as much as I love Smith Rowe, he is quick, he's not slow, but he's more of a drive on the ball, whereas Martinelli is definitely more of an off the shoulder, running onto the balls that hopefully Ødegaard can thread through. So I think Martinelli has to play, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully Mikel Arteta will surprise. Nuno Tavares, is just interesting to see what people's thoughts are on that in the chat. A few people were making some suggestions that we might see system changes. For me, if we start changing 3 or 4 players to try not to play a left back that Arteta has signed as backup for Tierney, then we have to play him as backup for Kieran Tierney. We can't play Ben White at right back, Cedric at left back, Holding at centre back. That just makes the whole back line weak for me. It's been quite solid, it's been quite consistent, and Tavares didn't have a great performance. But let's be honest, on Monday night, nobody had a great performance. I think Nuno Tavares deserves to be given this game, and if things don't work out for him, then of course we can have that discussion afterwards to suggest whether or not he's in the right position. But for now, I think the games that he played at the start of the season when Tierney was injured, he wasn't as awful as some people are making him out, particularly at the Emirates. So let's see what he does on Saturday. I think he's going to get the nod. I don't want to see Saka or Xhaka playing there. I think it needs to be Nuno Tavares, and I agree with Lee. I think we need to keep it going. Guys, something we always do last 10 minutes or so is ask about some of our players. So Maz, let's start with you. If I said to you, you can have any one of our players to put into the Brighton side, who would you pick and why?
Who's your most natural finisher? Whoever it is, I'll take him.
Probably Martinelli, mate, if I'm honest, or
Yeah.
Pepe.
I'll happily take Martinelli. Yeah, basically, we just need a goal scorer, someone who can score goals, can finish.
You can have Lacazette for a swap.
Would you take
Absolutely not.
Lacazette, Maz? Would you take Lacazette?
Do you know what? In these times, I definitely would, just because anything's better than what we've got. However, if I was being picky, I probably wouldn't. No, I just, as I think Lee and yourself, Dan, have mentioned, he's just a bit inconsistent. He could have his good days, his bad days. And yeah, I don't know if he ever sort of lived up to the hype. He came hype around him as being this.
Let me ask you a question: has Welbeck and Mope scored more than 4 goals this season?
Mope has, yeah. I think he scored 8 or 9.
He scored more than Lacazette then.
Oh, mad! That's mad. I thought Lacazette was banging in a few goals, but obviously,
4 goals.
That is pretty bad, to be fair. But then I suppose Aubameyang was starting for you guys, wasn't he, before he left? So he's a bit.
Lacazette was starting quite a few as well, but Aubameyang was playing wide. But Lacazette's just not been that goal scoring type this season. He's been playing a lot deeper, and he hasn't been clinical either. Yeah, 2 of those are penalties, I think, as well. So he's only scored 2 goals from open play. It's been really poor. So you go Martinelli, yeah?
Yeah, Martinelli or Odegaard. I really like Odegaard. I think he's fantastic. So yeah, Martinelli is my number 1.
Fair play, Chloe. What about yourself?
Yeah, I was thinking Martinelli or Smith Rowe probably. I really do rate Smith Rowe. I think he's a very good young English talent. And Martinelli, I've heard a lot of Arsenal fans that I know complaining that he doesn't play more. So yeah, he's obviously a very good player, and as you said, he's a good goal scorer, which is definitely what we need right now.
Fair play. Judges, same question to you. If you could pick a Brighton player, is it pretty easy for you, mate?
Yeah, I'm going to have to say it like, Danny Welbeck. No, it will be Basuma. I just think we need that solid, strong midfield player. I do. I'm a big fan of his. Always have been. I do like him. So it would be him, yeah.
Fair play. I'm going to agree with you. There's 2 players I really want. One of them's Tariq Lamptey and the other one's Basuma. And I think as we have got Tommy Yasu, I loved Lamptey and I think he's top. I think he will be even better than he is now as well. I just love the kid. Everything about him looks special. But I do think that we need a first teamer in the middle there and an upgrade on Granit Xhaka, and it would be Basuma for me if we could pick just one. But I do like Tariq Lamptey a lot. So yeah, they're the 2 that I'd look at. And I think they're obvious choices, if I'm honest with you. Let's go for some team predictions. Let's go for some score predictions even for the weekend. Chloe, let's start with you. What do you reckon the score is going to be at the weekend? What are you going for? 4-0 Brighton.
I never predict a loss. So but yeah, well, I can see it being 0-0, to be honest.
0-0. Yeah, neither team are scoring lots of goals, so it's not actually a crazy shout, if I'm honest with you. Maz, what about you, bro?
So up until the Palace game, until you played Palace, I was really, really downbeat. I was like, right, 2-0, 3-0 Arsenal. We're not going to score at the Emirates. It's not looking good. However, after the Crystal Palace game and seeing Nuno Tavares at left back, it's filled me with a little bit of hope and a bit of a glimmering light, so to speak. So I'm going to go with 2-1 Arsenal. With all that being said,
very honest of you, mate.
Yeah, 2-1 Arsenal, mate. But I think we'll score. Like Chloe said, I think psychologically, I know it's Norwich and they're awful, but getting that draw against Norwich and just getting a point after 6 defeats in a row, I think psychologically maybe it's just like, okay, at least we didn't lose. So I think maybe psychologically that could help. And then going to the Emirates, we've historically done all right at the Emirates. Arsenal getting much more to play for. You guys have got top 4 ambitions, whereas we don't really have anything to play for. So, could that work in our favour? You never know. But my heart says, my brain says 2-1 Arsenal, but my heart says we'll get a draw 1-1.
Fair play, mate. I'm going to go 1-0 to the Arsenal old school. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I really do. I can't see us scoring loads if the predicted lineups are as we expect and Lacazette's back up top. I think it's going to be hard for Brighton and Arsenal to score. Brighton do well at the Emirates. They do. It's a bad omen them coming here. So it's not one that I'm going to be sitting there rubbing my hands together thinking this is going to be 3 or 4. I think it'll be a very tight game, but I do think we'll get the 3 points, which is badly what we need. So I'm going 1-0 to the Arsenal. Lee, judges, what are you going for?
I said earlier on, I think it'd be 3-1, but I don't think it'd be an easy 3-1. I think it'd be 2-1 for a little while, maybe a later goal. So 3-1 for me. But I think Brighton will score as well, like, you know. So and I know, like, sometimes you go, 3-1's a draw. I don't think it will be. I think it'll be a very, very tight game. And I think the last 20 minutes, I think that maybe we'll just have enough.
Man, 3 goals. That's optimistic, but I hope you're right, man. I really do. Guys, let us know what you think in the comments, what you think the score prediction is going to be. Myself and Graham won't be about this weekend because we're both busy, but we'll be back for a preview to Arsenal team show next week. I want to say thank you to everyone, actually, and particularly thank you to our guests. Chloe, thank you so much for coming on, man. Much appreciated. How can people follow you on social media?
I'm just British Tea Hater on Twitter and Instagram. That's me.
Let me just stop there. Please explain that. British tea hater. Everyone in the chat earlier was saying, "What's this tea hating all about?"
Well, obviously when I was quite young when I first created my social media accounts, and I think it was my Instagram
No.
first. I was like, how wacky is it that I'm British, but I don't like tea, which is obviously the most British thing ever. So yeah, that became my name, and it's just kind of stuck at this point. So
I'm with you on that, Chloe. With you on that, like, with you on it.
How can't you like a cup of tea? Come on.
Yeah.
You know why I don't like a cup of tea, right? Because, and I'll be honest with you, like, people don't know how to make it. So you get, like, different, like,
Make it yourself then.
Yeah. Make it how you like it.
You can't go around somebody's house and say, I'll have a cup of tea, I'll make it myself.
Just put
So
a kettle on.
I
Yeah.
always go for coffee because it's an easier one to make. So I'm a coffee man, like, you know. So and I've gone off tea because of that. So I'm with you, Chloe. I'm with you.
Fair enough. Listen, we can get into a tea and coffee debate as well as an Arsenal Brighton debate, I'm sure, but we don't have time for that. Chloe, in all seriousness, thank you so much for coming on, man. Much appreciated. And if you do want to follow, you're welcome. If you do want to follow Chloe and you do agree that tea is nasty, then go on their socials at British Tea Hater and follow Chloe. And thank you so much for coming on. Maz, as always, bro, top man, how can people follow you and your podcast?
Pleasure. Yeah, so Seagull Social on all platforms, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all of that, Spotify, Apple. And then, yeah, my personals as well is just MazMirzadeh on Instagram, Twitter, etc. So, yeah.
Maz, top man, thank you so much for coming on. Guys, thank you all so much in the chat. Also much appreciated. Thanks for listening. Also on the audio. And my thanks, of course, to Lee Judges. You seem confident, Lee, at this weekend, mate. You really do. So I hope you're right, buddy.
Listen, don't take that. I was confident about Crystal Palace. So, you know, don't take my thing of it, like, you know. I am deep down very, very nervous about this game. I'm very nervous.
We're always nervous. It's a game of football and anything can happen, but we've got to be optimistic.
Don't be Lee, mate. Don't be. You'll be fine,
mate. You know, when Brighton fans say that, you know, it's like,
you know
what I mean? Don't want to hear that, do you?
I get that.
Unbelievable. Listen, thank you all so much for joining. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll be back hopefully after Arsenal have taken 3 points at the Emirates against Brighton. And until then, we'll see you next time and up the Arsenal. Take care, guys.